a decision-making forum. It is the briefing on the agenda for the Ordinary Council meeting to be held next Tuesday, the 24th of March, 2026. I'd like to remind everyone in the chambers to ensure that comments are respectful to the Council and all meeting attendees, including city officers and those in our public gallery. Please note this meeting is being live streamed. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Item 3 is announcements, and there are none this evening. Item 4 is attendance. The Chief Executive Officer, Jeremy Edwards, is an apology. And our Director of Corporate Services, Kim Lay, is acting as Chief Executive Officer. Item 5, disclosures of interest. Any councillors have an interest to disclose? Councillor Ladder.
Thank you. On 10.1.3, the AGM motions, I have a couple of different ones to disclose. On motion 8, I have a proximity interest due to having a business on the street mentioned in that motion, and I will leave the room if that one is discussed. For motion 12, the History and Heritage Officer, I have an impartial interest due to sponsoring an organisation that some members of are giving a deputation tonight. Also on motion 16, I live in the area specified in the motion but am satisfied it's an interest in common due to the size of the area. And on 10.5.1, I also have an impartial interest due to sponsoring awards at the school, but that item has no financial effect. So I will remain in the room for that one.
Sorry, that's 10.1.5?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
So that is impartial. Thank you.
Thanks.
Councillor Ossowski.
Thank you. My interest is in regards to item 10.1.3, motions from the 2024-25 AGM of electors. I know people who have submitted motions through my role as a councillor, and also I am closely associated with the person who has submitted motion 14, and they are presenting a deputation tonight also.
So it's impartial interest and you'll be staying in the room?
Thank you. Impartial, staying in the room.
Thank you.
Ta.
Anyone else? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 10.1.3, motions from the 24-25 AGM. Motion 12 there relates to an organisation that I'm a member of, which includes people giving a deputation on that item. It is impartial and I'll be staying in the room. In addition, item 10.4.1, development application, proposed paddle courts additions to Noranda Sporting Complex. I'm aware of the applicants/proponents through my work as a councillor in related work with the Bedford Bowling Club. It is impartial. I'll stay in the room. Thank
you. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, I have two impartial interests with regards to item 10.1.3, the motions from the AGM of electors meeting. The first one is with regards to motion 16, the speed limit reduction. So I own property in the proposed speed limit area. However, I'm satisfied that it is an interest in common due to the size of the area. So I will regard it as impartial interest and stay in the room. And the other one is with regards to motion 12, the request for a History and Heritage Officer. I am a member of the Maylands Historical and Peninsula Association. It's impartial. Thank you.
And you'll stay in the room?
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Oh, Councillor Pittaway?
Yeah, just an impartial interest in, I think it was 10.4.1, the development application, the Noranda Sporting Complex. I'm just an impartial interest in this fact that I'm a member of the club there. So I'll be staying in the room for that.
Thank you. Councillor Sutherland?
Yeah, I better declare that impartial as well. 10.4.1, I'm a social member of the Noranda Sporting Complex, so impartial. And the one on the motions, which one I know some of the people that have put the motions up 10.1.3, okay?
So it's impartial for 10.1.3 and you'll be staying in the room. Okay, so if that's everyone. We'll now move on to deputation, and we have 11 in-person deputations this evening, and I will now explain how the process will work. Each person who is presenting a deputation will be invited to come forward to speak at the microphone for up to 5 minutes. As we get close to 5 minutes, I will let you know so that you can conclude your deputation. Once you have finished, councillors may have some questions for you. Now, we do have about 8 deputations, or maybe not, I can't see properly, but we have a number of deputations in relation to the same item, which is motion 12 of the AGM. So can I please ask, in the interests of time, that your deputations are not repetitive, that if somebody says a point that you agree with in an earlier deputation, you do not need to repeat that point. If you have new information to add, please feel free to do that. But I don't want to hear the same repetition of points. So that would be great. So we will start in relation to item 10.1.3, which is motions from the AGM of electors. And David Dyke has requested to speak in support of the officer's recommendation for motion 5.
I pushed the right one. Can you hear me? Yeah, thank you. This is about 16 days in WA campaign. I don't entirely agree with the officer's recommendation, only there's parts of it I do. 16 days in WA campaign takes its inspiration from the global 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, which has been running internationally for many years. I want to put the her back into get together. And I'd like I'll use up 20 seconds of my 5 minutes for silence. Imagine one of these women in this place gets domestic violence or is stabbed or killed or something like that. So let's have 20 seconds of silence, please. Thank you. The reason this matters is because the problem is not going away. In Western Australia, police data shows that reported family and domestic violence offences increased by 18% in the 24-25 period, with more than 42,000 incidents recorded. And advocations caution that even this number likely underestimates the true scale because many incidents are never reported. They're hidden. Last year, I suggested a number of actions that the city could take as part of the 16 days. That was lighting up the civic centre, email signatures and motivational speakers at a workshop. There was 80 people attended the workshop, only I was the only one from City of Bayswater. What do I have to do to motivate people about violence against women? There must be, in this building, there must be more women than men. How can I push further councillors and the council to get motivated and do something? These are practical steps that can help raise awareness across the community. I would also like to commend the City of Bayswater for making an investment last year by organising the workshop by Lifeline, which I've mentioned. So this year I'm seeking the commitment of all councillors to attend and show visible community support for this issue. It's important. Leadership from elected representatives matters. In addition to awareness activities, I believe the city has the opportunity to do something more meaningful. That is why I have proposed that Council consider allocating funding in the range of $60,000 to deliver a meaningful launch event, workshops and a full 16-day activation for the campaign. This could include keynote speakers, community workshops and broader engagement across the city. There may also be opportunities to access state or federal funding to support these initiatives. Minister Stravosky, and my apologies if I've pronounced that wrong, Jessica will excuse me. She has got funding sitting there, so now is the ideal opportunity to step in there and do something. I believe the City of Bayswater can show leadership on this issue and demonstrate that our community takes the prevention of domestic and family violence meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for Mr Dyke? No? Would you like to commence your second deputation?
Can I go on to my second one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
So this is in relation to motion 6 now.
Yes,
Go ahead.
men's health. And we seek the endorsement, commitment and practical support of councillors and councils to advance this work for men's issues in partnership with Bayswater Blokes, ensuring meaningful outcomes for men's health within our community. Many men in City of Bayswater are hurting for numerous different reasons. Some are bordering on being suicidal. One man every day commits suicide in WA. I see men who are lost emotionally, homeless, jump to bed wherever they can, in whatever situation. 3 of us has formed Bayswater Blokes, only are very restricted by City of Bayswater venue hire. We can't get it. Can we have some waiver of venue hire for such an important issue? Our aim at Bayswater Blokes is we focus on men's mental health through engaging workshops, men's circles and barbecues, fostering a supportive and unique community for men. So we're providing men's mental health, educational workshops, relaxed barbecue down by the river for men, men's circles, a safe space for men to share their feelings and support. The circles are working, with many men talking about issues they normally would hide. To give you an instance, a man rang me that I have been associated for about 35 years, and he said, could I come along? You know I've been a perpetrator of domestic violence. I hesitated for a while and then said, yes, only be prepared that there may be some reaction, only I'll deal with that, you just come along. So that's proof that directly the circles are working. With support and caring with Bayswater Blokes, I'm hoping will bring down domestic violence with encouraging men to reach out and work on their full potential. I've just come from a circle to be here, and the men in there are talking about things that they wouldn't normally open up to unless it's safe to talk about those things. I request City of Bayswater support in marketing. I also request in waiving costs of rooms for activities at the Rise, such as workshops. I am collaborating with Kai Fella Foundation, which used to be Man Up, or you might know it as Tomorrow Man, to run a Tomorrow Man workshop, which would be Kai Fella. Last time we ran one, which is 2 years ago, it was very popular, and I got Claire Erdley along, who's the mother of Kai, who committed suicide. I request cost of workshops like that be waived for the workshop, or some sort of a peppercorn lease or rent or whatever. It's so restrictive to get these things off the ground. I don't know what else, what else to do. It's so frustrating to have these restrictions. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your deputation. I'll just ask if there's any questions from councillors. Councillor Latta.
Is it just the Rise that you have attempted to come to an
The
arrangement with the
Rise
city?
would be ideal.
Are you open to other locations? The city has different delegations for different places, so I just wanted to check if you might be open to places other than
Yes.
the Rise to hold it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Osazowski.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Dyke, for your deputation tonight. You mentioned the Bayswater Blokes group in your speech just now. Are you able to tell us how many people are currently in the Bayswater Blokes group?
How many are in Bayswater Blokes? There's 3 of us. But the actual circles are confidential, of course, so as we keep it safe.
Anyone else? No, thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Councillor Pitaway.
Sorry. Thanks, Madam Mayor. David, just obviously, what are you seeking for the Bayswater Blokes, like in terms of you're looking for marketing coming from the City of Bayswater around developing? If you only got 3, I wouldn't say members, but people attending these sorts of meetings, are you obviously? I think there'd be a lot more men in the community probably would come out to some of these things, but. You know, what are you sort of seeking from the council in that sense in terms of marketing to establish a bigger, wider network of people for your group?
Sorry, what's the last question?
What are you seeking from council in terms of any sort of marketing?
A waiver of the...
Just a waiver of fees to meet.
It's inhibited.
Okay. How do you go out? How does your organisation market to attract members or people to come along to these events?
Mostly social media at the moment.
Okay. Yep.
And a list of emails we've got.
So you're not directly associated with any other men's health groups that obviously the state provides and things like that?
No.
Okay, it's just an independent association.
It's the 3 of us
Yep.
going for it.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr Dyke, for your deputation. Just to clarify, you mentioned there's 3 of you that are involved in the organisation of Bayswater Blokes. Is that correct? But the attendance at the events, such as the circles and the barbecues, it's not necessarily 3. It's more. I know you can't disclose names and that, but in terms of actual numbers themselves, it's more than 3. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The workshops, I can talk about them. Mostly there's 20, 25 blokes come along. The barbecues down on the foreshore near the Blue Tree, it varies from 5 to about 15. and I try and get them talking about what's happening in their lives. And the circles, because it's confidential, I can't mention much on that. I like to keep it safe so as they'll bring out the things that are really hitting them in deep inside.
No worries. Thank you.
Mr. Dyke, are the circles exclusively for residents of Bayswater?
Not necessarily, no.
They're open to everyone?
Yeah. We had one chap come across the river from Belmont, and certainly up Bedford and Miranda, anywhere like that. Dave Kelly's area, Amber Jade's area.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, Deputy Mayor?
Sorry, David, just one question. So I understand from what you answered to councillors is that one of the main things you're looking is for a venue, right, for the circles?
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to try to find out if some of the community groups that currently lease city buildings can provide space for you guys on a weekly or monthly basis? For example, the Maylands Yacht Club, the Maylands Sport and Rec Centre. Yeah, we have the Historical Society. So I can see that there are opportunities around the city. Have you guys had the chance to engage with them to see if they will provide you? Because so does city buildings that are already leased to a group. Have you had that interaction with them?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
We started off in the library, but it turned out people were looking inside, and it's not really safe
Okay.
for somebody to speak up. And
Of course, I understand. I will talk to you after the meeting on this.
okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hey, David, I just messaged your social media now. If you get a hold of me, we have a space you can use 6 nights a week if you'd like. That's in Bayswater, just like a private venue. So we have a space you can use as well if you'd like to.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Dyke.
Thank you.
Okay, can I please call Sue Cundell in relation to 10.1.3, motion 12?
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor and councillors. My name is Sue Cundell and I'm the Secretary of the Maylands Historical and Peninsular Association, and I'm here today to support the motion of appointing a City of Bayswater History and Heritage Officer. Recently, the WA Local Government Minister, Minister Beasley, was talking about the idea of merging smaller local government areas into larger ones. One of the things she said, and I quote, "I really need them, local governments, to get real and start considering their futures and doing the right thing and making the right choices about their viability moving forward. They really need to be considering, are they merely existing to keep the lights on, or are they in a position to actually develop and deliver the sort of improved and innovative services and facilities for their communities, not just for today, but into the future as well?" I'm here this evening to challenge each and every councillor who is voting on this appointment. Are City of Bayswater simply keeping the lights on? Or are you prepared to do the right thing and make the right choices? Are you happy with just doing the bare essentials, as mentioned in the officer's comments? Or are you prepared to be innovative and forward-thinking by using the unique history and heritage within the city to do things differently? At the moment, you have 2 volunteer-run historical societies based in Bayswater and Maylands who are working hard to preserve and share our local history, not just the history of our particular suburbs, but the history of the whole city. And we're being innovative and we're being forward-thinking. Maylands Historical has a digital interactive map which captures the history of houses, buildings, businesses, and walks in the area. This map has already received almost 20,000 views. Bayswater Historical is now developing its own map, and we are both digitising our records. Together, we will continue to build a rich, accessible digital record of our city. Our talks, open days, and community events are well attended, and our interaction with the community is extremely active. But volunteer passion can only take us so far, and there is always the potential unsustainability of such volunteer-run organisations, something that has apparently been recognised by many other local governments. A small group of volunteers from our societies visited a number of local museums and history centres in order to understand how other councils approach heritage. What we discovered was quite interesting. The cities of Belmont and Stirling both have their own museums and have the equivalent of up to 5 full-time officers. The towns of Cambridge and Vincent maintain a local history centre in their libraries. The town of Bassendean employs 2 full-time staff. The city of Swan has secured federal funding for a new state-of-the-art museum and financially supports a museum curator. The City of Bayswater does not yet have any specific manpower assigned to this area and relies on us volunteers. The consequences here are that if our societies folded, we would potentially lose all the information and the artefacts that we have accumulated. A history and heritage officer would transform what is possible. This role would work closely with both historical societies and other future ones. There's nothing to stop Morley, Noranda, or anyone developing their own historical society. And they would help research, interpret, and champion the city's history, ensuring it is understood, valued, and embedded in how our city grows and evolves. The City of Bayswater has extraordinary heritage through its people, its stories, and its built form. Heritage is not a burden, it is an asset. It attracts visitors, strengthens community identity, and enriches the places we call home. We hope that everyone here tonight agrees that it is time for our city to consider how it can better support volunteer-run historical societies by creating this vital position. We need to future-proof our collections and our local history. We need to not just be keeping the lights on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before you take a seat, just going to ask if there are any questions from councillors. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Sue, for your deputation. Just in your written deputation, you refer to potentially a history and heritage officer working alongside the Reconciliation Action Group. And you just referred to some of the examples like Belmont and Stirling having their own officers. Do you know if those officers also engage in their equivalent groups with Reconciliation or with traditional owners in that culture regard?
I didn't do the research. Can you remember, Wendy or Greg, whether they... So the question was, in the other cities and towns that you visited, did they also work closely with the Reconciliation Action Groups?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Any other
follow
questions?
that up, though, if you like.
Any other questions, councillors? I have a few. So, thank you very much for your deputation and also for the work that you do at your historical society. It's very, very valuable work. It's wonderful that you're listening to the Minister for Local Government and paying such close attention. I think that's wonderful. I don't know if you agree with her statements, but what I will say, just to clarify, is I think it's highly doubtful the Minister was referring to the City of Bayswater when she was talking about whether we're working just to keep the lights on. So I just want to have that on the record. But I'm interested to see, get your view on how a position like this would work, because you've mentioned that the position would work closely with the 2 existing historical associations. But I'd like to know, how do you see the actual information and data and artefacts that you've accumulated? If the City of Bayswater was to invest in this area by employing a dedicated officer, do you then see that all of that information would be handed over to the city as the custodians moving forward, or would that still remain individually with the historical? So I'm trying to understand where the city, because if it's just, if your idea is that we're just going to hire someone to be kind of like your assistant, that's one thing. If it's going to be that the City of Bayswater then leads this and then works together with you, but we are the custodians then of the history and heritage information that has been collected over all this time, that's a different thing altogether. So I'm trying to understand what your vision is for the role.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one, and actually Keith's going to talk a little bit more about that in his deputation. So,
in a different way.
Yeah, so it is going to be within the other deputation. So
Okay.
do you want to listen to those and
Sure.
then maybe we'll answer that at the end?
Yeah,
Yeah?
that's great.
Is that
Thank you.
okay? Yeah, okay.
Okay. So on that note, I will ask Monica Main to come forward on the same
It's a big
motion.
question, Philomena. There's a number of answers. So, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, councillors, thank you. My name is Monica Main and I'm Chair of the Bayswater Historical Society, and I'm here to strongly support the motion that Council approves the appointment of a History and Heritage Officer for the City of Bayswater. The City Officer's comment and recommendation responding to the motion appears opaque and perfunctory, an exercise in box ticking. Their comment betrays a fundamental misunderstanding of what a History and Heritage Officer does and could do for the city, and why the City of Bayswater urgently needs to appoint one. There are 2 volunteer-run historical societies, both established in the early 1990s. As Sue mentioned, we're digitising our records, we're recording oral histories, we're making these available to the community, along with talks, walks, museum open days, special exhibitions and displays. The history in these stories, these objects and events tell of and celebrate the diversity of people and cultures that have made our city what it is today. Both organisations preserve, protect and promote our local heritage and foster a sense of pride in our shared stories and histories. History is about and belongs to the residents of the City of Bayswater, including Maylands, Bayswater, Morley, Noranda, Embleton and Bedford. As custodians, this is a huge responsibility and burden for the volunteers of both groups. Many local councils see the benefit of these collections to employ a heritage officer to help preserve, expand and share these collections in a systematic and coherent way with the broader community, including via libraries and schools. History is, after all, included in the WA school curriculum. Our neighbours in Belmont, Stirling, Cambridge, further afield in Guildford, Coburn, and there are more, are all investing in their history and employing heritage officers. These councils have qualified staff working in tandem with volunteer-run historical societies to strengthen community connection. History is not necessarily a consideration of a long time ago, but events that happened yesterday, recently. Heritage, both tangible, like buildings, trees, monuments, and intangible, like traditions and stories, shapes our individual and collective identities. It helps us understand our roots and connect with our communities. History and heritage reveal different perspectives, cultures and ways of life, fostering empathy, tolerance and a deeper appreciation for cultural diversity, something our society needs more and more in these current times. Shared heritage can create a sense of unity, belonging, strengthening social bonds and promoting community spirit. Protecting and celebrating heritage ensures that future generations can learn from the past, appreciate the cultural legacy and understand their place in the world. So what might this celebration of heritage look like? I'm a professional arts practitioner and I've been commissioned by the City of Perth to write and present 3 different performances with professional actors in a number of their historic gardens. All of these will be free for the public to see in their magnificent gardens during their month-long Boorloo Heritage Festival, a festival curated by the City of Perth's Culture and Heritage Officers. Bayswater was established at the same time as the Swan River Colony, 1829. Our bicentenary is just around the corner. Are you aware of what Albany has planned for their bicentenary this year? At the heart of Albany 2026 is a story far older than 2 centuries. This is Menang Noongar Boodja, ancient country with deep cultural roots and stories. Albany has programmed major events that will unite people through powerful cultural experiences, celebrating diverse perspectives, advancing reconciliation, and preserving Albany's rich heritage for future generations. I ask you, what is the City of Bayswater planning for our bicentenary? It's time the city looks to the future in order to preserve the past. Employing a dedicated heritage officer would Employing a dedicated heritage officer would establish innovative programming and amplify the vital work our 2 volunteer groups already do. Our collections and our unique local history deserve to be future-proofed because heritage does matter to many in our local community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll just ask if there are any questions. Councillors? I just have a question.
Yeah, absolutely. You might want to ask me what you asked Sue.
No, I'll wait until they're all done. But I just wanted to know, in terms of your Bayswater Historical Society,
Yep.
you with the history that you've gathered
Yes.
about the City of Bayswater, at what point in time does it start? What point in time does it go up to that you've catalogued so far? And are there any decades missing?
Well,
Because
yeah, sorry, go on.
I want to make sure that I want to understand that the whole spectrum. You're saying we're up to bicentennial in a few years. So is the whole spectrum covered at this stage or not?
Well, you could start with Catherine May's book, and that was published a number of years ago. Obviously, that needs updating because there's a gap between when that was published and now. She covers sort of, a swathe of history from 1829 up to now. We and our volunteers are still finding missing. There's still information bubbling up. People come to us with stories of their families that aren't documented, that we're documenting. Like, we've just done a big exhibition that covers many generations of a family from the 1930s, and the houses they lived in during the Depression are still there. So, I mean, how long's a piece of string? How long's time? It's infinite. So what I'm saying is we've done the best we can, and we're constantly collecting stuff. There's still many of the things we've collected and recorded that still need digitising, that still need cataloguing. We're using a mosaic cataloguing method that, there's a lot to be done that can still be catalogued and shared. So I sort of do want to answer your question before, because it's something that goes side and side. Like, we are custodians of a lot of information and objects that could have exhibitions in libraries. There could be more incursions at our museum at Halliday House, which is a heritage building owned by the city, where we have our museum and we have our open days and talks. I mean, we could have school incursions there. A heritage officer could organise that, coordinate. So it's about bridging what our societies both have with the broader community, as well as heritage officers often are curators. They'll come up with ideas. They'll say, look, I want to do an exhibition on XYZ, and we can offer them, artefacts and information that might fit into that. I'm thinking of an artist friend of mine who's a curator who did an amazing exhibition a number of years ago about the Batavia, like found objects on the Batavia and the stories behind those objects that were revealed because of what those objects could tell, even down to a wooden marble. So things can be extrapolated out of objects and stories can be told. And out of those stories, people forge connections and understanding of, like, how difficult it maybe was to start here as a white settler, how difficult it was for our First Nations people at that nexus in 1829. There's a lot of stories around those early years of great hardship and difficulty that are mirrored in the Depression and everything between the wars.
I'm gonna stop you there because we've got a lot of deputations to get
but
through,
I'm just
and I know
saying,
you can.
hello, I'm a professional talker, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to Wendy Garstone.
Good evening, Wendy Garstone, Maylands. A lot's been said already, so I think I'll try and just take out the key points from my deputation. I did include a bit of history that this council, when it was established in 1897, it had one paid staff member and he was working part-time as a secretary. The next one was a health officer. And then, as you know, the council has grown and grown until today when there's nearly 700 staff. So point being, of course, that the council evolves to meet community expectations. Now I've been a volunteer with the Bayswater Historical Society for about 4 years, and so I have seen a few examples that do leave me convinced that it's time for the council to employ someone whose main role is history and heritage. And so an example of this was the strategic community plan when it went out for public consultation last year. There was no mention of the word heritage or history in that plan at all. I would think that if there was a dedicated officer working at City looking after heritage, that it would have been included. Just going to the end, several councils that we've visited visited their museums or local history centres. They've employed a heritage team, and that's been in response to a volunteer group closing. In other words, they've had to reactively. Other councils have been proactive by ensuring that heritage has a strong voice in the council. So I join with the other deputies on this topic, and I ask that councillors find a way to plan proactively for the future, plan to help the two volunteer groups to thrive, and also to ensure that the two heritage collections, which ultimately belong to the community, are protected. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just ask if there are any questions from councillors. No? Thank you very much for your deputation. So I now call upon Keith Cundale for the same motion.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I live in Maylands. My name is Keith Cundale. I'm the president of Maylands Historical and Peninsular Association. And I'm here tonight to support the motion seeking to appoint a History and Heritage Officer for the City of Bayswater. You've heard some compelling arguments for this appointment from people across the city, and now I'd just like to add just a few personal comments, personal examples of why I think an officer working in this field would help create significant change and progress. You may recall that Maylands Historical was awarded Citizen of the Year last year by the City of Bayswater in recognition of our successful engagement with local communities and for the ways in which we've embraced new methods of sharing information across the city about our suburb. We have yet more ideas for how we might expand our scope of work and the outreach to the various diverse communities in the city, but this is beyond our ability to deliver alone. For example, if the city were to have a history and heritage officer, that person could provide political leadership and influence at the highest levels and help us to promote the concept of volunteering in the area of cultural heritage and help provide appropriate training and support. They could encourage community involvement in sharing their cultural heritage, the different communities, the new communities across the city, especially in those suburbs which do not yet have an historical society or in communities that we've not yet engaged with. They can publicise and promote our open days, talks, walks and exhibitions across the whole city and work with other local groups to establish their own walks and talks and exhibitions. They can highlight the uniqueness of the City of Bayswater, as you've heard, through exhibitions, school incursion programmes and so on. Finally, there's one aspect of history and heritage that remains a challenge for our society and for which a centrally appointed officer could add considerable support and assistance. At the moment, we are really only capable of researching, documenting and sharing information about post-colonial history and heritage. One of my longer-term strategic ambitions has been for some time to collaborate with local Indigenous groups to help to record, preserve and share Aboriginal history in ways that are respectful and appropriate. This we cannot do alone, but I can envision working closely with the Heritage and History Officer together with the Reconciliation Action Group to bring into focus the history of the peoples who lived in this area for many thousands of years before European settlement. I urge you to support this motion and enable the enthusiastic volunteers across the city, expand their scope of work and help us all to engage with other communities and suburbs in promoting and sharing the rich history and heritage of our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'll just ask if there are questions from councillors. I have a question for you.
Of course, madam.
Seems like got a lot on this one. We had a conversation a few years ago where you approached me and said that you wanted to engage with the our Aboriginal community to learn about their history in the area. and you were finding that challenging. Can you explain if you've had any, since our conversation, if you've had any progress in that, and if not, what are the challenges that you're experiencing?
I think the challenges were two. At the basic level, we could not afford the consulting fees necessary to engage full-time with one of the Aboriginal and Indigenous group leaders. We were approaching instead, we were working through the Reconciliation Committee and one of your own appointed officers. We had a couple of meetings with them. My recollection of those meetings were they were very enthusiastic on your side and on our side. Unfortunately, the personnel changed, your officers changed, and the thing sort of broke down a couple of years ago. My frustration is that, yeah, I thought we were making progress. I was optimistic that we would be able to do something. Through organisational problems, maybe at your end, there wasn't a continuity of officers to talk to. And those conversations have died away. We'll be very happy to restart them, but at the moment, we haven't a contact on that.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Pittaway.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I just want to ask you, Keith. Funny enough, my first cousin, is an archivist and information collection officer at the City of Fremantle, so he's well employed doing that down there. And but I just wanted to ask, from a council point of view, have you looked into the type of remuneration for an officer of this calibre?
Not at this stage of the negotiations, no. We would like to establish the principle.
Sure.
And then the scope of the work, the level of that person, what level of seniority, what support resources he or she or they might have. No, that would have been very premature.
Okay.
We would like to establish the principle, if you like, to sort of get the commitment from the council. Yes, this is an idea we would like to pursue. And then we'd be very happy to talk about in more detail. Here are some skill sets, here are some tasks that person might do.
Sure.
I thought personally that would be very presumptive to come up with anything more definitive. There's a possibility of us being precise and wrong. I'd rather be approximately correct at this point and say, can we agree the principle? Be very happy to talk detail as we move ahead, if that's possible.
No, I appreciate that. I was just trying to get a scope of
No,
some
I'm sorry,
sort.
I can't.
No, that's fine if you can't answer it. Thank you, Keith.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Okay, thank you
Thank you
very
very much.
much. I'll now call upon Greg Hoy to come forward. Sorry.
And some people pronounce it differently. So good evening, everybody. Madam Mayor, councillors. I live in Maylands and I'm also the Treasurer for the Maylands Peninsula Historical Association, and I'm here to support the motion for the appointment of a History and Heritage Officer. I did send in a written submission earlier, and that written submission is more a business case, so I would ask you to consider that. That's more in the line of somebody arguing from a policy point of view, a strategic point of view, a business case. Okay, so that's different. This is my personal representation. So the council's past and continuing involvement with history and heritage issues beyond town planning issues is minimal. Yes, the council does provide meeting rooms and storage facilities for the Shire's volunteer historic societies, the Maylands Historical and Peninsula Association and the Bayswater Historical Society. But otherwise, it has largely taken a hands-off approach to their activities and outcomes. The council officer's response that the council meets its obligations under the West Australian Heritage Act 2018 is true. I have no doubt about that. But this Act is narrowly focused on maintaining heritage assets. It has nothing to do with the broader promotion of history and heritage and engagement with the city's residents, which both the Maylands Historical and Peninsula Association and the Bayswater Historical Society aim to achieve. I've been with the Maylands Historical and Peninsula Association for about 2 years now, and in that time I have seen the organisation at 2 AGMs struggle to fulfil committee positions to continue to operate for the forthcoming year. We recently witnessed the cessation of the Maylands Ratepayers and Residents Association due to the lack of volunteers after many years of operation. And my personal view is that we will be witnessing the same for the Maylands Historical and Peninsula Association in the near future. I just hope the council has thought through what it will do with the invaluable historical collection amassed by this organisation in the form of oral histories, documents, historic videos and photos and physical collectibles. If you think it won't happen, this is just what has happened in several other councils in more recent years. And I mean West Australian councils here. There is a perception that younger people are not interested in history. It is a niche interest limited to older, sophisticated residents. And so why would council want to waste its resources pandering to this demographic group? Can I tell you that this view is very wrong? We have experienced keen interest by a broad spectrum of residents with our guided historic and street art walks. The problem is that we lack the people and the financial resources to promote the undertaking of these activities more regularly. Council could easily promote and manage these activities just like it does with its other community activities. Mayor and councillors, I could go on and on how you could get behind promoting and holding more historic and heritage activities to enhance the enjoyment, the education of the residents, of your residents, as well as improving their social cohesion. But ultimately it is your decision whether you will provide the resources or not. As I said to you earlier, you run the risk of witnessing in the near future the disappearance of the council's volunteer historical societies, and with them their irreplaceable collections. Therefore, doing nothing is not an option.
Thank you very much. I'll just see if there are any questions. No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, on another item, I will now call George Wilkinson, who has requested to speak in opposition to the officer's recommendation for motion 14.
Good evening. I prepared some written remarks. I'll read that off and happy to field questions. Councillors, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'd like to explain why I oppose the officer's recommendation regarding the proposal to rename Broome Avenue to Beaufort Street. The officer response focuses heavily on administrative process and the potential difficulty of renaming a road. I understand those issues. I worked in local government myself, but what's missing from the analysis is any consideration of the strategic and economic value of the change. Beaufort Street is one of Perth's most recognizable urban corridors. It carries strong identity associated with activity, hospitality, and local business. Yet that identity currently stops abruptly where Beaufort Street becomes Broome Ave, even though the built environment and commercial strip effectively continue. By maintaining two names for what is essentially one corridor, we dilute the brand of the precinct and create unnecessary fragmentation in how the area is perceived and promoted. Yes, naming a road requires consultation. Yes, it affects addresses, but these are implementation challenges, not strategic reasons to reject an idea outright. Across Australia, councils routinely undertake street renaming where there is a strong place-based, place-making, or economic rationale. The question should not simply be, is it difficult, but rather, is it worthwhile? The officer recommendation assumes that consultation will fail before consultation has even occurred. That seems premature. If the city is serious about revitalization, economic activity, and strengthening local identity, then initiatives like this deserve proper evaluation rather than dismissal based solely on admin inconvenience. In short, the report evaluates the cost of change but not the value of the outcome. And therefore, I encourage council not to close the door on this idea today, but instead consider whether a unified Beaufort Street corridor could deliver long-term economic and place-making benefits for the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your deputation. I'll just see if there are any questions from councillors. I have one. This isn't the first time that you've moved this motion, is it?
No, 3 years ago as well.
And is the officer's recommendation today any different to the officer's recommendation from 3 years ago?
I didn't look it up, but I thought it was a copy-paste job, if I'm honest, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, councillors? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Okay, so We now move on to item 10.3.1, verge tree removal request, and we have Wendy Garstone speaking in support of the officer's recommendation.
Sorry. Thank you. Wendy Garstone, Maylands. First of all, I'd like to give credit to the officers who wrote the report. I thought that the level of detail on why this tree is a valuable asset was very clear. One detail not included is the amount of money that has been spent on this tree since 2023, when site development began. The funds spent by the developer to ensure the tree survived the development process, and then the funds spent by the city to address the owner's concerns would perhaps be $1,000 or more, and I think it might help if the true value was known. If the tree had failed during construction, I assume the owner would have been required to pay to have it removed and replaced. It was a condition of approval that this tree remained, so it seems that now is the wrong time to be talking about additional costs to install gutter guards and how the gutters will be cleaned, and to be talking about having the tree removed. If the tree was to be removed now, I wonder who would pay, and if this would be the adjacent owner, would they rather pay for gutter guards and gutter maintenance? I appreciate that paying for regular gutter cleaning may be financially onerous for the current owner if they're unable to get on a ladder and do it themselves. I'd like to remind the city of the steps that have been taken towards creating a tree champion program, where we've talked about volunteers perhaps helping people in the community who are simply unable to maintain a tree that drops large amounts of leaves and nuts. Another point is that, or a query really, the approval conditions of 36 Clark Road included that the developer was required to submit a landscape plan and plant a new tree, but I can't see any evidence of any landscape works. I hope that this can be clarified. In conclusion, this tree is a community and environmental asset, and it needs to stay for future generations. Owners stay on average of 10 years in a property, and future owners may well appreciate this tree, its associated bird life, and the opportunity to create a garden underneath. Thank you.
Thank you for your deputation. I'll just ask if there are any questions from councillors. I have a few questions.
Sure.
You just spoke about a 10-year average of homestay ownership. Not sure.
Yeah.
Where have you gotten that figure, and is that Bayswater specific or Morley specific?
That was a figure that I obtained several months ago, maybe a year or so ago, when researching for another deputation, and I don't recall where I got it from. And I also acknowledge that in the current housing crisis, I'm assuming that it's, could well have changed, but, the point stands that home ownership changes through home ownership, change of home ownership typically is less than the lifetime of a tree.
Okay, I'm just asking that question because I know for a fact that particularly, and I'll use Noranda as an example, that figure isn't correct in terms of that. You also mentioned the Tree Volunteer Program, and this is something I've heard a bit from yourself and a few others in the community, which I'm really interested in the concept, but we've been talking about it for a while, and I wanted to know, what stage is it at? Have you had anyone? Is it up and running? Have you helped people in their homes with this?
No, it's something that some volunteers or some advocates have talked about with council staff, and some ideas have been discussed, but nothing has been put in place as yet.
So what's the barrier to that? Because it's a great idea.
Yeah. I think it might be down to limitations of time for staff and to discuss. I think one staff member who was involved has left. It's not, I don't have a current, like an update on it.
So it's not a community-led volunteer program?
no. There was discussions with Environment House as well.
Okay.
So it's more of a possibility. And so again, the point being that I think it would be much, we value trees. We need, every tree matters. And so maybe it's something that, could be fast-tracked or worked on from the city's point of view, from the city.
Okay. Anyone else? No, thank you very much for your deputation.
Thank you.
Okay, we now have, in relation to item 10.4.1, Jamie Forsman has requested to speak in support of the officer's recommendation.
Good evening, Mayor, Councillors, City officers and attendees. My name is Jamie Forsman and I'm representing Outback Paddle, the applicant for the proposed paddle courts at the Morley-Noranda Recreational Club. Firstly, I'd like to thank the City officers for the work they've done assessing this application and responding to the community feedback. The report is comprehensive and we appreciate the time taken to review the technical studies and engage with the issues raised. We've been working with the club and the city on this project for over a year now, and during that time we've undertaken detailed acoustic reports, modelling, traffic assessments and design revisions to ensure the proposal fits well within the existing sporting precedent. I'd also like to acknowledge the Morley-Noranda Rec Club, its president Mick Wainwright. Mick unfortunately can't be here tonight. He did submit a deputation written. I just see it's not on the list, but I did raise it. I just said he can resubmit it maybe tomorrow.
We'll look
as
into
well.
that.
The committee members perform their roles obviously voluntarily and contribute a significant amount of time and effort to the success of the club and the broader community. Their work plays an important role in supporting recreational opportunities and for the residents in the city of Bayswater. Paddle is relatively new in Australia, which makes it unknown for some people. However, it's one of the fastest growing sports in the world and is becoming increasingly well known across Perth. The sport is easy to learn, played in small groups, attracts a wide range of participants, including families, juniors, and older residents. Our goal is to integrate with the club and to further contribute to the creating a welcoming community facility that activates current unused space within an existing recreational club. The Noranda Sporting Complex already hosts soccer, netball, athletics, tennis, and bowls, and paddle would simply add another accessible activity to the mix. Importantly, the independent technical reports confirm that the development complies with environmental protection noise regulations and that the surrounding road network and parking supply are capable of accommodating the expected activity. We also appreciate the city has proposed conditions relating to the operational management plan, landscaping and construction management. These are sensible and we are comfortable working with the city to finalise them. If council is supportive of this project, one request we would ask the city to consider whether these documents, as mentioned, the operational management plan, landscaping plan and construction management plan, could potentially be finalised in parallel with the building permit stage rather than strictly prior to submission. This would just help the process more efficient, make the process more efficient while ensuring the city retains full oversight and approval of those details before construction begins. We remain committed to working closely with the city and the community to ensure the facility operates responsibly and contributes positively to the area. So thank you for the time and consideration.
Thank you for your deputation. I'll just see if there are any questions. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you for the deputation. Just a few questions. The first one is about the location of the proposed site. Is this site was chosen because it is underutilized by the club? Sorry, I'm asking you because the club is not here.
Yeah, sure.
Why? I'm just saying, was there any discussion or consideration to use one of the other options further away from residents?
Correct, there was. They're busy with, so there's 3 bowling greens to the north. The one is being synthetically transformed at the moment from a grass green to synthetic green grass. But they're all being used for bowling at the moment. On the southern side, there's 2 unused spaces. The space on the right, the club is wanting to use for some walking soccer activities. Nothing really much has happened there, but that's kind of what they're looking at, that one space. And then the space on the left, which we've been looking at, is the only really space available for paddle.
So this is what the club provided you
Correct.
guys as an available. Okay.
Correct.
I have a question about the noise aspect. Do you guys have any? I saw some of the reports that you guys provided and what the officers wrote, but are there any, perhaps even examples that we can watch or see of what it actually means, to see the impact of what is being proposed? I understand there are some measures to reduce the noise. Is there anything that I actually tried to search online? I couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
No links from your submission. Is this the first time that you are providing something like this in WA or in general?
Yes, in WA it's new. So WA there's only a few courts at the moment, so there's not a lot of courts around. But in Europe they do use quite a few acoustic treatments on their courts. So in the UK it's used quite a lot.
So for your company, this is the first one?
In WA, yes, correct.
In WA?
Yeah.
And generally?
In general, yeah. Well, we've got a pickleball location on Rottnest Island that we've opened and we've been running. But this will be our first one for paddle.
So in other words, you don't have any existing example that we can watch? If
Not for my company, but I think there is a lot of examples around, and the consultants that we are using and engaging with the court providers from overseas, they do that sort of work overseas as well.
So in other words, what I'm trying to ask is, if I wanted to understand what it actually means, what you are proposing on site, I don't have any way to actually see that. I will have to just read what is proposed, but I don't have anything. If I want to see what is a tennis court, I can go to a tennis court.
You can go to a paddle
and
court,
see.
yeah, 100%. You can go to a paddle court. They won't have the same acoustic treatment of what we're putting on the courts at Naranda. So there's a few paddle facilities within Perth that have the normal setup with the courts, but because of where the location is, we've had to do some acoustic treatments on the courts to make sure that the sound does not travel and is within the regulations in terms of sound and noise.
Thank you. Can you expand on this one? So what is proposed to deal with the noise?
Yeah,
so you're
sure.
saying there is acoustic, is it glass?
Yeah, so the paddle courts, it's made out of glass at the back, which is 3 meters high, and then above the 3 meter high glass is a meter mesh. And then on the side of a court, when the glass ends, there's also a mesh opening. So the sound can travel outside through the mesh and above the top. So what the acoustic consultant and engineer has done is he's designed where you cover up parts of the mesh with certain material that actually blocks the noise. And that therefore directs the noise away from the southern end and pushes it more to the northern end, which is not an issue because there's no residents on that side.
So the ball is going to hit the glass. Is it the glass?
Correct.
So the glass.
Yeah.
So most areas it will be glass.
Correct.
So residents will hear a ball hit on the glass constantly?
So I'm not sure if I can say that they'll hear it because a part of the noise assessment is, I'm not an expert in that area, but they've obviously provided that to the city where the city's actually reviewed the noise that travels from that location.
Who is they?
The consultant.
So consultants, sorry.
The noise consultant,
Yeah, like
Deputy Mayor.
So who actually contracted the noise consultant?
Myself.
Okay, so it's your consultants.
Yes.
So you're across it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so we have the consultant reports that they do it in line with the regulations. They submit that to the city. The city assesses that acoustic report to see whether it's appropriate in line with the regulations and acceptable from a noise perspective.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Sutherland.
Hi, thanks for your deputation. So just on the other examples, the paddle ball is it Raybold?
Yes.
So you're saying the one in Raybold, which I'm aware of and I've seen, tried to play very badly, but you're saying that the acoustics for this one is going to be better than that one because that one's actually in a tennis club, is that right?
So we've modelled the sound on Rebolt. So we've gone and done sound readings there, and the acoustic engineers applied that same sound reading to Naranda, and then they've applied acoustic treatments onto the courts to reduce the sound noise, and that's taken about 4 months worth of design and dealing with that to have a design with the engineers that when they produce that court, it's a bit different to the one at Rebolt. So that inside the court you won't know a difference, but outside the court there will be a significant difference in terms of the noise to restrict that noise. Yeah.
Councillor Pittaway.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Hey, Jamie, thanks for your deputation. There was a couple of things there I just wanted to ask. Just mentions there music. I play tennis, but obviously I know this is a new concept, which I haven't tried paddleball yet. But this says music, so what's the outline of that? There's music getting played just generally?
Yes, so music. So part of the recommendation from the acoustic engineers that the music, if it gets played northward. It doesn't get played south, so it gets played away from the residents.
Is that part of the experience?
It is part of the experience.
Okay,
yes.
so it's just like a bit of a fun type thing. Okay, so it's not. Yeah, okay, so
But it's not. Yeah, it's
aerobics or something like that. It's just obviously just music in the background. And obviously you've stated there that players would be encouraged to use the Morley Naranda Rec Club. So there's not going to be any application or further application of a liquor licence.
No.
Okay.
Well, so I think what the club is wanting, I don't know if that area is covered by the liquor licence. They were looking to have that area covered by the liquor licence. We're not going to be selling any liquor, but it's just for people to go to the club if they want to get a drink. The whole club is covered, I think, except for that one corner. So even the corner on the east of us is covered. It's just not that one block.
And just looking there at the rendered image, so what is that sort of, just to sort of hold that up,
Yes.
is that just like a resting area or something like that? Or
Yeah,
is it
it's really
meeting
just an area where people sit,
Yeah.
watch the game, talk.
And that's furthest away from the road? Yeah.
And the top area is really more just an equipment store. So I think, yeah, if anyone has time, I mean, Michelle, you said you've been to Rebold, so I think going there, you can really feel what the sense of the atmosphere is like. It's really just people sitting down, talking after a game, and yeah, staying and watching another game and then heading home.
And has the club actually sort of said that they'll have a bar open till 10 p.m. or?
So the bar is open a lot. We're not, part of the pros not to change the bar time, so whatever the club operates will fit within that operation
Sure.
time of the club.
But would you have, like, just for example, like a vending machine for water and
Yeah, we'd have
soft drink
potentially have a
license
vending
stuff?
machine with water and drinks there for easy access, but the idea was to get people into the club, so that really, I think that's what we're trying to differentiate ourselves with, is really integrating with the club. We don't want to sit separately from the club. We want people to be in the club, engaging with the club, increasing membership, increasing the sort of atmosphere there.
But you have an access way on, is it Wild Road?
Correct.
So yeah, so you sort of, although you're sort of saying you're encouraging people to use the club, they don't necessarily have to.
Yeah, so that still needs to 100% be worked through. I think that'll be part of the operational management plan. That's the city's asked for. And it will really just be confirming exactly which accesses get used at what sort of times.
I think that's, yeah, kind of a bit of a sticking point, probably for the residents, no doubt. I know we have another deputation from a resident. So just, that could be a sticking point, just in the sense that if people think they can just park at Wild, go in, play, leave, and then, hang around and just talk and so forth and whatnot, versus parking on the other side of where the club is and the entrance to the club is, and then walk through somehow, that would maybe present a better case in my mind, that obviously then you're really using and facilitating the club at its best, versus just having people park in Wild Street, play, leave. That would encourage a lot more use of the club, which I think they would much
I think
prefer.
that's definitely my preference as well. I think to come through the club like that. I think it's just if there are certain times where there's an airport tournament going on and stuff, the parking can get a bit busy, and obviously Wild has a lot of public parking there. But my preference definitely would be for them to come through the club as well.
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily arguing that. I mean, we're not going to be fencing off the whole area, so it's a case they could just have to walk along the side through there to the back of the club. In that way, or if there is access through other ways. But just obviously, if that's the main point of access that people will recognise, then my fear would be that we just have people just coming and going, and versus not really using the club. I think this works well if we can utilise the club in that capacity in the best way we can.
Definitely.
Yep. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Just two follow-up questions, please, about the lights. Are there any new lights planned to be installed there?
Yes.
Are you guys doing it? That's
Yes.
the plan?
Yes.
And the music, I had some questions about that. So the music will continue until 10 p.m.?
Yes, I think it would. That is the idea. But I think, I'm happy to have a discussion on the music till 10 p.m. I think it's a good example because, as I said, paddle's unknown still in Western Australia. I think if you have been to a paddle club at that time of the night and you kind of sit there and you listen to the music that's being played and the level of the music, it's not, it's really at a respectable level. And obviously it's something that we're happy to kind of discuss as well.
Thank you.
Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your deputation, Jamie. You talked about before how you don't have a current premises that you operate within Western Australia, but there are other paddle courts within Western Australia, that is correct. If we were, as example, as councillors to investigate and see what the closest alternative would be, given that you said that the acoustic treatments will be different, is there a court that you would recommend that we would potentially visit?
Yeah, I think Rebolt is close, as well as Lake Munga has just got some new facilities up there. Would be a good example to go and have a look at as well.
And those will be the closest approximations to what we may experience in terms of noise.
Yes.
And noting that you say they don't have the same treatments as what you're proposing here, is that correct? Thank you.
Any other questions?
One quick one. These are modular, aren't they, the courts? Yeah, okay, cool.
I just have one question. There seems to be a bit of concern about noise and the impact on residents. So my question to you is, the court that you said is available for the walking soccer, is that too small for paddle? Is that a reason why that wasn't considered?
I think it was just initially already earmarked for something else because the area that we are on is not nice grass. They have to do quite a lot of work on it to make it available for walking soccer, for example. With the area on the eastern side, because it's in the same, its distance is the same, but it's just grass. They could just play on it. They wouldn't have to do any further work on that area.
So that's the basis.
Yeah, and obviously we've done a lot of work on that area now with land surveying and everything like that. But the basis
in terms
initially,
of size,
I can double check that. I think it might be relatively a little bit smaller. Okay. Because I think that was more of an old bowling green, which was kept up. This one was probably an old bowling green, but it's kind of just a big flat field now. Yeah. So you can't see the resemblance of the old bowling green like you can on the one to the eastern side.
Thank you.
Cool.
I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before I call the next deputy up, I am just going to remind people you're able to leave at any time because after the next deputation, the one after that is a confidential deputation. So we'll be closing the doors, so everyone will have to leave at that stage. And, you know, it's up to you whether you want to wait and come back in, but I'm just giving you the opportunity now if you'd like to leave. Thank you. Okay. We are coming back, but we're going behind closed doors. So, okay. So I will call up Ken Griffiths in relation to item 10.4.1, who has requested to speak in opposition to the officer's recommendation.
Evening, Council, and all members and visitors to the Council. I'm one of the residents along Wild Road that will have this paddleball courts across the road from my house. I've written up a letter of petition against the paddleball courts. After going and having a look at other paddleball courts, one down in the Netherlands, I went and had a look at, and found that the noise from that, if my house was at the same distance, it would be quite detrimental to the people living in my house. I have two MS sufferers living in my house. One is housebound and is there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we'll have to put up with the sound of that continuously. The other problem is I've done a bit of investigation myself onto traffic and parking. What I've done is I've done a complete survey of when the sports carnivals are on and the number of vehicles we have there. I estimated 225, which I feel is an underestimate, of vehicles which are in the area for a sports carnival. We have up to 5 of those per week in the on-season for the sports carnivals. At that stage, we only have parking over the road of 103 bays along the road and 57 bays in the parking bay area. So there's an excess of 65 odd cars that are parking on people's verges, in front of houses, down the streets. That is causing issues with children moving between cars, especially sports carnivals. If we're adding another, I think they said there was going to be 254 more vehicles per day travelling up and down Wild Road because of this thing. This was in the report that was given to us. 176 coming from the McGilray Avenue side and 86 coming from the, 78 coming from the Cambourne Road side, which Wild Road is overpopulated with vehicles already. The parking bays are not sufficient anymore. The length of the parking bays, back of vehicles, especially if they have bike racks or something like that on the back, are sticking way out into the road, and you get vehicles going both ways. Kids coming out between cars. It is just very unsafe. I've actually seen 3 kids actually contacted by vehicles on Wild Road. I've lived there since 2003. And I've seen three kids hit by cars on that road, one taken by ambulance, the other 2 were okay, but they were still shaken up. One of them was my son. So the other thing I'd noticed was the parking assessment, that they were going to be putting an extra 40 plus vehicles in the parking bays at any one time. We don't have that room. We've got your soccer, your sports and all that. It's overpopulated with vehicles already. The noise side of things, I mean, I'm not against having new things put into the area, but we've got a lot over there already. We've got the athletics, we've got the soccer, we've got the bowling club who runs their music to midnight. We're happy with all that. We don't need extra. And the residents up the road, I've been for a full walk up and down the road, everyone who's going to be have vehicles parking on their front of their houses or on their verges. They've all signed the petition. I had only one house I went to who wasn't objecting to it out of the whole lot, which the other thing was the number of houses that were given the letter about this padel ball was limited to a small area, which didn't cover other people that were going to be affected. Like, it wasn't given the whole Wild Road. When I went and knocked on their doors and asked them if they knew anything about it, they knew nothing about it. The assessments which were done in the report covered parking, which was done on days, two days which the assessments were done were a Monday and a Saturday, which the dates which I looked on there, and both those days no sports or anything was actually being played. So it was clear. The amount of traffic going up and down that road, the buses have stopped going up and down there now. It's really cars speed up and down that road all the time. There's only a matter of time before a kid gets killed, and we need to look at this and protect our environment. Most of the people aren't in favour of it in the street, and I've got the survey, the petition I went and had all the people sign. And that's it.
Thank you very much for your deputation. I'll just see if there are any questions from councillors. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. You said...
I'm not deputy.
Sorry, why did I do that? I'm so sorry. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry about that. Thank you for your deputation. You mentioned that Monday and Saturday are not good days to review it. What are the busiest days from a parking perspective?
It varies. It varies. See, Friday nights they have the sports carnivals there. Some Friday nights, which you get cars will be parked as far up as I'm at 97. They'll sort of go up past my place on one side, then you get the soccer at the other end. So that's a Friday night, which can get quite busy. Sundays are quite busy there. They get a lot of cars with the soccer. If you add another 49 vehicles to that, or 45 vehicles to that, you're not going to have sufficient parking. It's going to be overflow. The other thing which I didn't actually bring up was the mention of toilets. I don't know what's going to happen with toileting, because if it opens at 7 a.m, the bowling club normally doesn't open till about 11 some days. So where are they going to go to the toilet? There's no toilet facilities shown on this. Are they going to be using our verge trees? Sorry, it's one of the things that was said by one of the neighbours. Are they going to be using the verge trees? So, yeah, the proposal which was put through was very, very limited in its information, and was the street name was given 4 different ways in the proposal. We're quite happy if they want to put it on Wiley Road or Wild Street or Wide Street.
We'll just go to the next question, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. So you mentioned a few concerns that you have. I just want to confirm. So the main one that you guys have is around the parking and the traffic?
That and the noise, yes.
And the noise. So they're equivalent concerns.
Parking is a safety concern. The noise is an annoyance concern.
Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? I have a few questions. Just, I'm trying to did I knock on your door once? Have I
You did.
spoken to you?
Yes, you
so
did.
now I know which one's your
Yeah,
house
you know which
in
one's my
relation
house.
to the
Yeah.
in relation to the courts. Okay.
Yes.
So I thought you looked familiar. So I've got here that it's the traffic, noise, and parking that are the main issues for the residents.
And the playing noise is the annoyance to the
So-
residents, which is when you've got a person living in a house with MS who's wheelchair bound, only goes out to medical appointments, is basically in that house 24/7. Adding that extra sound is quite detrimental to their health.
So I understand that. I'm trying to see, I want to see how concerns from residents could be addressed to get a good outcome. So, for instance, we have the netball courts that you'd be familiar with, and there are also homes on that, not Smead, the other one, there's about 3 houses that face directly opposite the netball courts, and you know how frequently those netball courts are used and the amount of people that are there. So they must, there are noise issues and parking issues and traffic issues on that little street as well. But that has been running for many, many years successfully, and it's a really good, facility that we provide for sporting for our kids and adults as well in that area. So I'm trying to see, in terms of the traffic, I did have a question when you said that your traffic survey numbers indicated conservatively over 200 additional cars per day, which I'm wondering how, because I can't imagine there's 200 paddleball players per day.
That figure was come from the report that come from for the courts that we got we downloaded from, which was the report that was done on the assessment of the courts. They gave those figures.
The applicant.
The applicant. So I don't know where those figures come from, but I'm just
Okay.
telling you what figures were there.
Okay, that's fine. Which I will have to ask separately where those numbers came from, because I don't think one paddleball court can accommodate 200 players a day. So that's one thing. In terms of the noise, if there wasn't a noise disturbance to residents because of whatever they're able to build, construct, implement, would that help residents?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Is my clicking the pen annoying you? That's pretty quiet. I mean, any noise that's repetitive, it doesn't matter if it doesn't reach that decibel reading, can be quite annoying and quite detrimental to people's health.
So
if
you're
they gotta
not
listen to it all day
concerned.
long.
So you're not concerned about it being above the decibel. You're even saying even if it's below the noise regulations, it's not acceptable.
Correct.
Okay. And then in terms of parking, I know how busy that sporting complex is. You do live around a large district sporting complex, and there's soccer and athletics and,
It's wonderful.
and it's been there forever because
been
I
there
was a
forever.
kid
It's
and I used to
wonderful.
be at
Yeah.
Wild Reserve doing little athletics. And I understand, so you're saying that right now people are parking on verges illegally, or is it legally?
Illegally.
Illegally.
Yep.
And Have there been any compliance actions? Has there been any complaints to council? Has there been anything to resolve that illegal parking?
I think you'd have to look at the range of records on how many have been done there. I've actually reported when the cars are parked across the footpath that people just can't get down there on mobility scooters and things like that, because we've got several people in the area who are disabled
Yeah.
and utilise those paths all the time.
Is there any signage? I can't recall.
There's no signage saying no parking on the road. There's nothing about parking on verges or anything like that. The Water Corporation cover on the front of my property, I had a truck who couldn't get down the road because there was vehicles in the way, and he actually drove up over my verge and broke the cover. We've had vehicles driving over our verge on a regular basis, breaking sprinklers, and other residents are having the same problem. Then people parking in people's driveways. Some of the stories I've heard since I've been going knocking on doors and about this petition was that, when these sports carnivals are on, they're usually reasonably good, but it's when something else is added to it, it becomes, people are inconsiderate and start getting frustrated and annoyed, and people start parking down the road and parking on people's verges, and it's become, we have 160 bays available on Wild Road side, which includes the parking lot by the school. The 225, I got that figure from the 165 plus the ones parked in the nature area in the sporting ground, which is regular. Then they were parked on the side of the road before the corner. Buses were having troubles getting around there when they come around, but there's no buses anymore. Cooper Road, they were parked all the way down Cooper Road and on people's verges down there on some of the big sporting events. And people haven't been kicking up much about it, but if we're going to add to that is when the problem comes in.
So can I ask, in terms of location of the actual paddle court, it wouldn't matter to you whether it was the one that's proposed, which is directly opposite houses, versus if it was the one to the east, closer to the soccer field. It wouldn't bother you. You'd still have the same
We'd
concerns.
probably still have the same issue, especially if they're using an access gate on Wild Road to the venue, and that's the parking at the Morley Naranda Rec Club there is insufficient to add it much more to it than what they've got, especially if you've got the netball on. I know I've used the venue several times. I was a member there, not anymore, but I was a member there for several years, and most of the times, especially the netball's on, there was never any parking there anyway. Luckily, I was able to walk, but we had a lot of people come to meetings there, and we could never get parking, and they were having to park right down in the shopping centre car park.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, the Deputy Mayor has another
Thank
question.
you. So just a follow-up question about the courts. So you mentioned about if it was moved on the side, it wouldn't change much from your perspective as a nearby resident. But if the court that was chosen for that was the further away to the north, one of the three on the north, would that make a better outcome for you?
For the noise aspect of it, yes.
Just the noise.
The noise aspect would, but where are they going to park? I mean, at the moment, with the sporting and everything that's going on there at the moment, they've got insufficient parking now. So we're going to add more vehicles for another sporting thing, which is going to be, the netball takes up all the area, the sports take up all the area. They have overflow as it is. They're utilising the shopping centre car park, which if you talk to the shopping centre, on the sports days, their car parks are full.
So if, just to understand, if council decides to approve the current proposal as is, what would be a better outcome for you? What is proposed now, or if one of the northern courts?
It'd be better in the north courts.
Okay.
Yes, agreed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Pittaway?
Yeah, thanks very much, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to ask, obviously, there's 6 courts proposed, and I know you're talking about the 225 cars scenario, but at the most, there's only 4 people per court. So that's only possibly, say if we halve that with the, look, if everyone drove, there's 24 cars.
24 cars, yeah.
Okay, per hour.
Per hour.
Per hour. And then they leave, and then the new 24 come in. But that could be halved again because some people might be ride sharing.
As I said,
forth.
I didn't get that figure myself.
No, I know, I understand it, and
But if you start adding it up from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m., the numbers do start adding up.
Oh, over the course of a day, it would.
Over the course of a day. That's,
But I guess these are only. We'd have to go back to the person proposing this, Jamie. But obviously, I believe these are only rented per hour, on a per hour basis.
Yes, that's correct.
So
as
yeah,
far as
so
I understand,
and maximum amount of people per court is 4, and obviously that would then have to have. I mean, there'd be peak times when people all 6 would be
and then
booked.
people waiting to go in.
And so forth. But you know, probably during the day from 7 a.m. to midday or something, there might be no courts, one court. So I'm probably just I'm not questioning what you're saying, but I'm just sort of challenging that aspect of saying that, you know.
Councillor Pittaway,
Yes.
we're just asking questions. We're not getting into debate.
Okay, sure. So that was just the question, was that would you agree that there's only 24 people?
Yeah.
Per. Okay, that's fine.
And I've got no objection to these sorts of venues going up in the areas, but I just think they need to be put into areas where it's more suitable. They've got sufficient parking and sufficient room and sufficiently away from houses.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other questions? No, thank you very much for your deputation. Okay, we are now going to go behind closed doors to hear the deputation on confidential item 14.1.1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, councillors, we've received 17 written deputations tonight, which have been provided to councillors and published on the city's website, and I will take those as read. So we now move to questions on agenda reports, and I'll now ask for questions on items that were the subject of deputations, with the first one being 10.1.3, motions from the AGM. And we had deputations on motion. Any questions on motion 5? Motion 5?
Yes.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, 16 days in WA. The deputy mentioned that there are grants provided by the state government to local governments to do stuff around this issue. I just want to know if the city is aware of those grants and have considering to apply for those grants.
Thank you. I'll go to the director to respond.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for the question. My understanding is that previously we have worked to promote that campaign, and we do look at what grants are available. Often the grants do come with certain conditions as well, and those conditions, they need to be favourable for us to move forward on them. So we do look for grants, and we're happy to look for this one to see if it can be applied and work to promote that campaign.
Thank you.
Any other questions on motion 5? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The officer's recommendation refers to the city already actively supporting and delivering initiatives consistent with the objectives of the campaign. Can the city elaborate on what activities and initiatives it delivered last year as part of the 16 Days in WA campaign?
I'll go to the director.
Thanks, Chair. I just need a moment to bring it up.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Look, I do have that information. I wasn't employed by the city at the time, so I'm relying on officers who were, but I can provide that following the meeting.
I'm happy to take that notice. Thank you.
Any other questions on motion 5? No. Motion 6. Any questions on motion 6? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I just confirm the delegated authority for the waiving of fees for booking of city-owned venues? What level of delegated authority does the CEO have?
I'll go to the acting CEO.
Madam Mayor, I'll take that on notice. The CEO has a delegation and then there is sub-delegation to directors of different thresholds. I'll take that on notice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on motion 6? No. Any on motion 12? Councillor Sutherland.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I didn't see you. Yeah. I just want to know how much one of these officers would cost, because it's going to put more stress onto our budget. I just want to know how much it would cost.
A new FTE in this role. I'm not sure if they're able to answer that without knowing the position description, but I will go to the acting CEO to respond.
Yeah, I don't mean to dissent.
Madam Mayor, that's correct. We would need a job description with the correct skills to actually assess that in our classification framework. We could also look at opportunities to integrate delivery of that function through our community development area and actually look at the current roles we have and if there's opportunity to strengthen the focus on history and heritage.
Okay, and considering what one of the deputies said about the local government minister, she's got a lot to say about local government. Is there any money that can be got from state government for those sorts of funds? Do you know?
I'll go to the acting CEO.
Madam Mayor, we'll have to take that on notice. I'm not aware if there is grant funding for staff resources.
Yeah, well, that could also go straight to them, but if they get a wad of money, they can get someone maybe.
Councillor Pittaway.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to ask, how many staff do we currently have that at the City of Bayswater that would do any type of this type of work? Because it is mentioned that, we do have staff that do contribute to this, and rough amount of hours per week that this is dedicated, or they dedicate to this?
I'll go to the acting CEO.
Madam Mayor, we have approximately 2 FTE in our strategic planning unit, and that's what's referred to in the officer's comment. A portion of their time will go towards things like reviewing their planning heritage framework, but what the deputies were actually talking about is quite different to what we responded.
Any other questions on this motion? No. The next one is motion 14. Any questions on motion 14? Councillor Latta.
Thank you. I just wondered if the city is able to tell us how many businesses there are on this section of Braun Avenue.
I don't know if they'll have that off the top of their head, but I don't know who to even direct that to.
I will take that on notice and provide that information back to you.
Thank you, Executive Manager.
Thanks.
Councillor Osazowski.
Following up on that question, is it possible the city could provide us the numbers of not only the businesses but perhaps the residential properties from Coode Street through to Collier Road, and then also from Collier Road down through to Beachborough Road North, so we can understand, because those two stretches are different in terms of their makeup, so it would be good to understand the numbers of residential, commercial, industrial along those two sections of road, please.
Chair.
Executive Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Can I just clarify that was Coode to Collier and Collier to
Beachborough.
Beachborough, thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes, I actually have a question as well on this issue. The officers mentioned that Beaufort Street in our city, the end extends a little bit, as shown in the map. If this motion is supported by council, what will happen? And Collier Road is being renamed. What will happen to that section of properties? Is the intention that they will receive a different street name?
I don't know if the officers have that advice at the moment, but I can give you examples that in other areas it might be called Little Beaufort Street.
So that will be different. I just want to know what happens in this kind of situation technically. Do we need to rename that street?
That would be an example. I don't know I'll go to the director if you've got an answer for that.
No.
No, but that's an option. Councillor Osazowski.
When the new intersection happened at Tonkin Highway and Collier Road, where Bunnings is there, that road used to be called Collier Road. Now to go to Bunnings, you take a little turn off and there's an extra road there. Does the city know what the name of that little road is?
I'll go to the director, and they're all scrambling on their laptops to find out. Who's going to get there first? Okay, Executive Manager.
Oh, sorry. It's actually still called Collier Road because technically, based on my mapping, that new Collier Road through to the intersection of Tonkin Highway is called Collier Link.
Yes.
So the old road, which still exists, is still Collier Road, and the new road is called Collier Link.
Any other questions on this motion? No? Okay, the next one was... Okay, that's all for 10.1.3. Are there any questions on 10.3.1, which is the verge tree removal request? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a few questions for this one. Just referring to the development application, did the owners of the property fully comply with condition 7 of the development application regarding the tree protection zone?
I'll go to the director to respond.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I did make a note during that deputation to investigate that. I had a look on our system and I need to do more work to be able to answer that.
Can I ask a few other questions that may be taken on notice as part of that investigation?
Go
ahead. Yeah. Was there any such damage to the tree that condition 8 of the development application was applied? And was condition 10 of the development application complied with fully regarding recommendations to the existing street tree?
Director.
Through Madam, I'll take them on notice and be able to provide a response.
Thank you. The officer's report raises ongoing concerns with the tree in the comments. When were these concerns first raised with the city by the resident?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, it's somewhere written in the report, I believe. I believe the matter has been ongoing for a little while, but I will get the exact dates and provide that information.
Yeah, thank you. The report also refers to there were requirements for native vegetation clearing permits to be issued. Just curious to see what those requirements are and if the city has an opinion on whether or not those would be able to be ascertained or not.
Go to the director.
I'll have to take that one on notice as well.
Thank you. The report refers to the replacements for the tree canopy being equivalent to 169 35-litre trees. I was just seeing if the city has an approximate cost to those trees based on a potential replacement tree and their value times 169.
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, I'll have to take that one on notice as well. We do have some figures because obviously we plant 3,000 plus trees each year, so that would be just coming out of that program.
Yep. And just to clarify, that figure would also include the 3 years of maintenance on top of that tree planting initial cost.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you. And just a last question, Madam Mayor, has the city determined the Helliwell value of this tree?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, there's no Helliwell value written in the report, but what I can do is actually see if we can calculate that from the information that we have in the system. Otherwise, we'll have to do an assessment.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this motion item? No? So what about item 10.4.1, the development application proposed paddle courts?
Question.
Councillor Pittaway.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Have the officers ruled out, as we discussed through that deputation process, the paddleball courts being moved to that northeast part of the club? Is that would still retain 6 courts there? Has that been ruled out, or is it just
I'll go to the director. I guess they can only judge on what's actually being applied for by the applicant. It's not the city's responsibility or obligation to suggest alternatives, but I'll let the director respond.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. That's correct. Well said.
Okay. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Just a few questions. The first one is, what is the distance between the closest property to the boundary of the proposed court?
I'll go to the director.
The distance in meters.
Through Madam Mayor, I can't see it immediately, so I'll take that on notice and make sure that's clear.
Thank you. With regard to the noise issue, I read that the city identifies that the noise will comply with the noise regulations following the installation of some measures. I had a read of the noise report, but it was hard for me to extract what I needed. What is the planned noise levels for 9 p.m. from the properties along Wild Road, and what is the permitted level?
I'll go to the director.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Through you. So it's important to understand that the applicant engaged their own consultant to undertake all of the noise modelling, and that report's been submitted as part of this development application. And we have environmental health officers that are authorised under environmental health legislation, noise related legislation, who have reviewed that report to ensure that the methodology and the report contents is sound. So that's the process that it's gone through. The the noise limits they do set by the regulations. They do drop into the evening hours, so they are down to a 55 decibels in that evening time, which is the noise sensitive time. That they're working hard under the noise modelling to mitigate the noise. So at that time, you have less background noise, and any noise made is more audible from residents' properties. So that's the critical bit that they've worked to do their noise modelling on, and to mitigate noise impacting, they're trying to meet that 55 decibel noise limit, which is set by the regulations.
So 55 is the limit in the regulation for the evening hours?
Correct.
So what is planned for the courts at 9 p.m. to be heard from those properties? What they will hear from that distance? How many decibels?
I'll go to the director.
Thanks, Chair. So you were right in what you said about the report. That it is complex. It's a technical report.
I take it to notice, Director. That's fine.
Yeah, and so it is based on modelling, and it's modelled to be within that range.
I just want to know the figures. So what are we talking about? What is the range of the possible noise heard by the property owners at 9 p.m., which is below the 55 limit that you mentioned? But what are we talking about? Is it 30, 40, 54?
I'll go to the director if you have that information.
Yes, so the report does outline it. Like I said, it is based on a modelling, but what I think would be better is to actually get one of our officers to actually provide a more detailed explanation to give you that, because they're actually authorised and qualified. My own personal qualification is not in the noise
fully understood.
space.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll wait for that. Thank you. My last question is about the noise regulations. Obviously, there are limits, as you mentioned, Director. What about the frequency of the noise? So if a specific noise does comply with the limit, but you can hear it all the time, do the noise regulations deal with the frequency? For example, if there is a barking dog, that the barking still complies, but you can hear the whole day and night. Is this being measured by the noise regulations?
I'll go to the director.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, I think my preference would be to get an authorised officer to give you that explanation as to how it works.
Thank you. And what I'm trying to understand, if the frequency of the pedal courts, the whole day, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., if that is being regulated, and if not, is it a gap, or it's not regulated, or how are we addressing this from our assessment of noise? Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What recourse would the city have under the development application or other instruments such as the environmental noise legislation if that decibel level was breached? What can the city order?
I'll go to the director to respond.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the question. So, yes, the application and the officer's assessment has identified this as a key issue, and we have recommended a condition number 2, a detailed operational management plan, which outlines the noise management measures, and that they also have to, in condition number 3, meet all of those requirements. So then if they fail to meet those requirements, then we have provisions under the Planning and Development Act to undertake compliance, and that can be through a range of things like a notice, it can be an infringement, it can be prosecutions and all that sort of stuff. So there are quite significant monetary penalties under the Planning and Development Act, so they are quite strong, and that's why we focus on conditions 2 and 3 to make sure that we do have recourse if there are issues and they're not complying with what they said they would do, that the city can take action.
Thank you. The traffic report says that Wild Road is currently 900 vehicles per day, and the development proposes that it could increase by 19% to 1,076 vehicles per day. I guess, what does this figure represent in terms of that volume compared to the road's hierarchy classification? Are we satisfied that the road is to that level of vehicle standard for the number of vehicles travelling on that per day?
I'll go to the director to respond.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I think it's important to just also clarify in terms of what is proposed and what the traffic impact assessment looked at. So it did look at the courts accommodating up to a maximum of 24 players with 3 staff on site at any given time from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. 7 days a week. So that was what it was. The traffic impact assessment is based on, and that results in the traffic impact assessment finding that there'll be an 18 to 39 vehicle movements per hour during a typical peak hour, with a maximum of 240 to 390 vehicles on a daily basis across that whole span. So that was queried earlier. The traffic assessment then looks at some of the distribution across different roads, distribution across Benara Road, McGill Avenue, Wild Road, depending on where people park and where they're coming from and where they're going to. So there's a distribution split, and the consultant that investigated, which has been reviewed by our traffic engineering team, have found that they are within the limits, the assigned limits of the road classification for which the roads are.
Thank you. In regards to complaints about parking at the sporting complex, just the deputy mentioned about some parking issues and parking on verges adjacent to the sporting complex. Has the city received complaints in the last, say, 6 to 12 months on the sporting complex? And is there a quantification of that? I'm happy to take that on notice as well.
I'll go to the director to respond.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yes, we do. It is a hotspot for parking. At peak times, there are people who want to get there and get there by a certain time. And where we identify issues like people parking on the footpaths, we do issue infringements.
Thank you. And just one last question, Madam Mayor. The deputy referred to public toilet or toilet accessibility from the bowling club, and that's maybe not being open until 11 a.m. Are there public toilets accessible by those outside of the bowling club who are using the sporting complex? I know in some parks and reserves we do have public toilets accessible, and if we do, what hours are they open from and to?
I'll go to the director to respond.
Yeah, through the chair, I'll have to take that one on notice to see what the hours are.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this one? Councillor Pittaway?
Just one last question. It's probably dopey, but it's sort of like the deputy just raised how these car bays, certain cars seem to extend past the car bay. So just want to check that these car bays are within the code.
I'll go to this is the car bays on Wild Road, the public ones on Wild Road. Do we have that information?
I'll have to take that on notice. We can check to see whether they are compliant.
Any other questions on this one? I just have a question in regards to planning. So the deputy spoke about traffic, noise and parking being their main concerns. Excuse me. If an application submitted addresses noise, parking and traffic issues that fit within the scheme or whatever, so if it meets all those criteria, under the planning regulations, can council refuse it? And if council were to refuse it when they meet all those criteria, is there grounds for appeal to SAT?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. The council's town planning scheme shows this land as being for local public open space. It's a recreation facility. It's a private recreation facility, so it's entirely consistent with how the planning framework reserves the land. So the use is entirely consistent, and there would not be a strong case to refuse it for the use. So then we look to the aspects of what's being proposed and can we manage any potential impacts. So if the impacts, and they are the key issues, are noise, car parking and traffic, they were raised through the public consultation, and officers have identified the same and addressed them in the report. And we've recommended conditions on how they can be managed. So if those issues can be managed satisfactorily, and in the officer's assessment we believe that they can be, then any case before a tribunal for refusal would be weak.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on this? No? Okay, we'll move to the next item. Oh, that was all the items that were subject to deputations. So I'm just going to see if there were any others that councillors had raised questions in advance. We've dealt with that one. So I'll just open up now to councillors. No one's flagged with governance that they have questions on any of the other items, but I'll open it up in case anyone does. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question in regards to item 10.2.2, list of payments for the month of February 2026.
Sorry, which one?
10.2.2.
Oh, yeah.
And in particular, attachments 10.2.2.4, the summary of corporate purchase card expenses. Just referring to the last few pages there in regards to fuel and oil for council fleet, just noting that the cost of fuel and the availability of fuel has been a top subject for the last month. I was curious to see if we're expecting to see that cost increase. Is it budgeted within our budget? And if there has been any difficulty in securing supply for our council operations.
Councillor Black, I don't think that question relates to the actual list of payments. It is a separate question. Happy for you to ask that at a different stage or in a different, but it's not related to this item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Just one question about item 10.1.2, policy review, code of conduct, complaint management. Mentions on page 21 online, our version, with regards to clause 2.3, that a council member with 2 prior behavioural breach findings, it is escalated to the inspector. My question is, because we are putting it in our policy, my question is, so what happens? So the third one, from what I understand, the third one will go to the inspector. What about the 4th and the 5th? So all of them will go automatically, or it's every time we count again 3?
I'll go to the Manager of Governance to respond.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'd like to take that question on notice, but my understanding is that it's a 12-month period. So once there are 2 within a 12-month period, that will be escalated to the Inspector for Local Government. But I will check.
Okay,
that
so
and come back to you.
the 3 ones apply only for 12 months.
I'd like to check that, but
And
yes.
can you please check that it's in the policy, because in the table it doesn't mention 12 months. This is why I missed it. Thank you.
Councillor Sazowski, is it a different item?
I'm happy to go with 10.1.2 as well.
Yeah.
In Lim 4, we're talking about authorising a complaints assessor, and that person's come from the WALGA panel, and the city's going to go through a process to procure an assessor on a more permanent basis. Considering we've got the WALGA panel anyway, and we're already looking at using someone, why would we be going through another process to bring someone on board when we've got a panel that we can already access and use? Why would we, bring another report to council for procurement when we've already got someone?
I'll go to the Manager of Governance to respond.
Through you, Madam Mayor, that is an option available to the council. Because this report was put up to the council with limited time, we would normally go through an expression of interest process to make sure that we got full and complete quotes and gathered our own information with regards to people who might be suitably qualified for the council to consider. So that was why we were leaving that option open to the council, but the council could procure off the WALGA supplier list.
And everyone who's on the WALGA supplier list has already been checked out by WALGA that they are able to do the jobs that we would require anyway.
Go to the Manager of Governance.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, that is correct.
That's my only question, thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Any questions on any other items? Councillor Sazowski.
Thank you. Mine's in regards to 10.1.1, the new model code of conduct. In reading that with where it talks about dealing with a complaint, it says in there that if the local government makes a finding that an alleged breach has occurred, the local government may, and it has 2 options, take no action or take action. So what's the threshold for the local government deciding to take no action
I'll go to
versus taking action?
I'll go to the Manager of Governance.
Through you, Madam Mayor, obviously that would be a decision for the council or for the council's delegate to make in determining a code of conduct breach. But there might be situations where the council or its delegate found that there was a breach, but decided that it was perhaps of such a nature that no action was required. Sorry, have I answered the question?
I think what I'm trying to find out is there a potential for bias in the decision on whether to take action or not to take action?
I'll go to the Manager of Governance to respond.
Through you, Madam Mayor, that assessing a complaint, there is a level of subjectivity and judgment that is applied in assessing the complaint. So the complaints assessor will look at the clauses in the Code of Conduct and determine whether or not they consider the behaviour that's subject to the complaint meets the threshold in their opinion for breaching that clause, and then will also make a judgment about what action might be appropriate. With behavioural breaches, which are Division 3 breaches, which are dealt with by the local government, there are a much more limited range of remedial actions that can be applied. So the range of penalties and sanctions, if you want to use that word, that can be applied by the adjudicators or the Office of the Inspector are much wider than what can be applied by the complaints assessor in assessing Division 3 Code of Conduct complaints.
One more question. I think it links both to 10.11 and 10.12. In regards to the authorised complaints assessor, if I can jump back to 10.1.2 for a moment, if that's all right, thank you. It says in here that they will assess and make a finding. Does that complaints assessor then determine how it's to be dealt with?
I'll go to the Manager of Governance.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes. So once the complaints assessor has made a finding, they then need to determine whether or not they think that any sort of remedial action should apply, and they must consult with the councillor that is subject to the complaint before they make a final decision in relation to that action.
Right, thank you.
Any other questions on this item or any other items? I have a question in regards to item 11.1, which is the notice of motion. So my first question to the Manager of Governance is, will an addendum be issued to fix the date from 2027, which is in the recommendation, as well as under the conclusion to 2026? Or if it has, I might have missed it.
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, we're planning to issue an addendum to the agenda on Friday, and that'll include that item.
Okay, just making note that the date is in 2 sections of the report to be updated. Okay, my other question is, so it says here that Council resolved in May 2025 to present the concept plan to DPLH. So the department's had the concept for a while. Does the city have any visibility over a date in which we can expect a response from DPLH? And I'll go to the Executive Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for your question. The city regularly contacts the department to seek an update on the matter. And at this stage, we don't have an estimation of when it will be concluded. However, the exercise is to remove the caveat on the title. It doesn't directly relate to how council wishes to proceed with the property itself.
Okay. My other question is, if I'm reading correctly in the report, before a business case can be developed by the city, there needs to be direction from council in regards to the scope and future vision of the site. Is that correct? I don't know who to, executive manager?
Yes, that is correct, as stated in the report. The city will be holding a briefing session with council regarding its advocacy priorities, and we hope through that process we'll be able to identify how you wish to move forward with this site as well.
So aren't advocacy priorities and identifying which they are, isn't that separate to actually forming a vision and scope for a particular individual project? I'll go to the acting CEO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The city is planning a briefing that's coming up in a couple of weeks' time to actually go through for council to review its top advocacy priorities. And once we get that sense from council, if this site is still in the top list of those priorities, the next steps would be to workshop with council to understand that vision, and then the business case could be prepared.
Okay. Just a question then. Without a vision determined by council, how do we know what we're advocating for and if it is an advocacy project?
Madam Mayor, the session we will have on advocacy priorities will identify which projects council wishes to focus on, and then subsequent to that, once it's confirmed this is a priority for the Les Hansman precinct, then the workshopping would happen with council to understand what specifically would you like to see on that site, and then we would build the business case. And that's all work that is planned to happen with the council.
If I may, Madam Mayor, just in addition to that, the council has adopted the concept plans for Les Hansman, which currently includes a mix of community uses and residential uses. The purpose of the advocacy prioritisation workshop is to sense check with council. Are these the top priorities you wish to continue with? Are there others, etc.? And from there, you're going to have to refine what your concept is with Les Hansman, because the model that you currently have conceptually may not be what council is seeking now.
Yeah. So, okay, given all of that, without a notice of motion, would we still be doing a business case as part of the process?
If this notice of motion wasn't on the table for council, we would still be going to council to talk about advocacy priorities, and then we would be workshopping with council on the vision for this site and preparing the business case.
Okay. Are there any other questions on this item? No? Councillor Sazowski, you've got a different item?
Yeah, please. I'm sorry. Before we only touched on the motions, the AGM motions that were that we had deputations for tonight. But there are just some questions for the other ones, if I may. So that's item 10.1.3. Motion number 2, Julia Doyle in Embleton. In Lim 1 of the officer's recommendation, it says that this disabled parking for the dog exercise area will be considered as part of the Ford Capital Works program. So will we see this in the current 10-year Ford Capital Works program during our budget process?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, it will be listed in there in the actual Ford Capital Works program, but it'll probably be unfunded unless council wants to do something different with it.
Sure, but it'll be in that 10-year plan that we're currently looking at. Excellent. In Lim number 4, Ruth Marshall, the officer's recommendation in Lim 2 also mentions the Ford Capital Works plan beyond the 10-year plan. How does the city capture this, considering it's beyond our 10-year financial plan, so that this is not lost or forgotten about?
I'll go to the acting CEO.
Madam Mayor, we work more on a 20-year model, so we actually have the data, but we only endorse and publish 10 years, because as you can imagine, beyond 10 years isn't as confirmed.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. In regards to motion number 7, Janice Zammit, in the officer's recommendation, again, it's mentioning the Ford Capital Works program for a path in Newington Reserve. Will we see this in our current or in our draft 10-year Ford Capital Works program when we have our budget deliberations?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, so I believe that's the pathway that is, I believe it's actually already on the list sometime in the future. I can't remember what the exact year is, but it should be on there because we do have a prioritisation process now and lists all the pathways on there.
Excellent. So that's for Newington Reserve. So we should see that in our draft document. Thank you. My final question, thank you councillors for your patience, is in regards to motion 21, Anne Gilkers. She came and spoke about the intersection at Beachborough Road and I'm going to say Beaufort Street / Broome Ave / Walter Road. The turning lights there. The officer's recommendation here says that we could talk about signalised turns there through the Black Spot program. So how does the city determine which projects we apply for Black Spot funding?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, the first step would be to look at the crash statistics and see if there is a crash history there that will qualify the project for the Black Spot program. Failing that, we'd also look at potentially doing a road safety inspection to see whether it can rate under the program through that process. If it does, then we'll develop some modelling to look at what the solution is. And it will take a little bit of time and then work through a process of getting it nominated in the future year under the program.
So for Black Spot funding, the city would have obviously several projects that they would be considering for Black Spot funding. So this would somehow fit in a hierarchy of priority for those other projects, is that correct?
Yeah, through the chair, in terms of the Black Spot program, normally you get a benefit cost ratio, so it will determine whether, what sort of benefit we'll get and how much, how it compares to other intersections, other road lengths. So we'll run through a process where we prioritise through that, looking at what the scores are like. Using those scores will give us a priority list in terms of those projects.
Thank you. And finally, are there any other ways for the city to get this project up and happening without going through the Black Spot program?
I'll go
through
to
main roads or any other departments? Are there any other avenues that this could be achieved?
I'll
through?
go to the director.
Through the chair, we do look at all possible avenues of external funding. Failing that, the city could actually fund it itself if it wants to put it in the Ford Capital Works program and use its own muni funds. But we do explore every possible option. So, an option could be through the regional road group, but most likely we'd probably pursue this for the Black Spot program.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on this item or any other items? If not, I'll close the agenda briefing forum at 9:36 p.m. Thanks, everyone.